I was 10 years old when my whole life shifted sideways. The morning started like any other, gray light seeping through the curtains, the muffled sound of cars outside, the radiator ticking in the corner of my small room. I remember it was a Saturday. I didn't have school, so I was excited to sleep in. But instead, I woke up to my mom yelling. Not angry yelling, more like frantic. Her voice was sharp, hurried. I couldn't hear what she was saying at first, just that something wasn't right. I sat up confused. I rubbed my eyes and looked at the clock. 6:43 a.m. Way too early for yelling. I padded out into the hallway in my socks. I saw my dad by the front door with a box in his hands. A cardboard box. And not just one, there were several boxes near the door, like we were moving or something. But no one told me we were moving. Go get your things, my mom said as soon as she saw me. I blinked. What? Your things. Clothes, toys, whatever you want to bring. Just the essentials. Hurry. I looked at her, then at my dad, trying to understand if this was a joke. My dad wasn't smiling. He wasn't even looking at me. We don't have all day, he muttered. What's happening? I asked, my voice tiny. You're going to stay somewhere else for a while, my mom said quickly. It's not safe here. We can't just go get your things. Now. That word unsafe hit like a hammer. I thought maybe the building had a gas leak or something. Maybe there was an emergency. But then why were they acting so cold? Where am I going? I asked. They didn't answer. I turned slowly and went back to my room. My hands were shaking. I grabbed my backpack from the floor and shoved in a pair of jeans, some socks, my favorite hoodie. I added my sketchbook, a pencil case, my stuffed doll named Pip. I wanted to cry, but I didn't understand what was happening yet. So I didn't. When I came back out, my dad opened the front door and gestured for me to follow him. Wait, can I at least eat something? I asked. There's snacks in your bag, my mom said, not meeting my eyes. I looked down. Sure enough, there was a granola bar sticking out of the side pocket. I hadn't even noticed them putting anything in it. Still confused and totally silent, I stepped out into the cold morning air, not knowing that nothing in my life would ever be the same again. We didn't talk in the car. My dad drove, hands tight on the steering wheel. My mom sat in the passenger seat, staring straight ahead like she was afraid to blink. I sat in the back, backpack on my lap, Pip the owl squished between my arms like a tiny shield. I watched the city roll past the window, familiar streets, traffic lights I recognized, even the bakery with the blue awning where my mom used to buy me cookies after school. We weren't heading toward school, or toward my grandparents' house, or anywhere I recognized, really. Where are we going? I asked again, this time more nervous than confused. Neither of them answered. My dad just flipped on the turn signal. We drove for what felt like hours, though it couldn't have been more than 45 minutes. Eventually, we pulled off the main road and into a gravel driveway that crunched under the tires. A two-story house stood at the end, hidden behind tall hedges and a gate that looked too rusty to move. My dad got out first. My mom finally turned to face me. You're staying here? Just for a little while. That didn't make sense. With who? She hesitated. Mrs. Harrow. I had no idea who that was. She knew your grandmother, she added, like that was supposed to make me feel better. She's very kind. You'll be fine. Before I could ask anything else, the front door of the house creaked open. A woman stepped out. Thin, tall, with long gray hair pulled into a tight braid. She didn't smile. Didn't wave. My parents got out of the car and helped carry my boxes to the porch. I didn't help. I just stood by the car, watching everything unfold like a scene in a movie I didn't understand. Then my mom hugged me. Quick, like she was scared of changing her mind. My dad didn't even try. He just turned around and went back to the car. You'll be okay, my mom whispered. We'll be in touch. I tried to hold on to her. Why are you doing this? She pulled away. Her eyes were red. It's for the best. Then she turned and walked away. I watched them drive off just like that. No wave goodbye. No explanation. I was 10 years old, standing on the porch of a stranger's house, holding a stuffed owl and a half-unzipped backpack, wondering what I did wrong. And that was when the front door slowly opened again, and Mrs. Harrow said in a voice that made my skin crawl. Come inside, child. You must follow the house's rules. I stepped inside. The door shut behind me with a heavy thud that made me jump. The air smelled like mothballs and old wood. Everything was dim, curtains drawn, lights off except for a yellow lamp in the hallway that flickered faintly. The wallpaper was peeling in spots and the floor creaked under every step. Mrs. Harrow didn't say much. She just pointed to a narrow staircase. Your room is upstairs. Second on the left. Don't open any other doors. Why? I asked, still hugging Pip. Because I said so. I didn't like that answer, but I was too scared to argue. I climbed the stairs, each one groaning beneath my weight. When I reached the room, I opened the door slowly. It was small. A narrow bed, a wooden dresser, and a tiny desk by the window. No toys, no books. No color. Just beige and dust. My boxes were already there, stacked neatly in the corner. I didn't hear anyone bring them up. I set Pip on the bed and sat down, trying not to cry. It didn't feel like a place a kid was meant to be. That night, I found a note under my pillow. A handwritten list in spidery cursive. House rules. Never open your window no matter what you hear. Always be in your room before 9 p.m. Never leave your room after the lights go out. Do not speak to the man in the hallway. If the front door opens by itself, do not go near it. Say thank you to the house every morning. If something knocks twice on your door, pretend to be asleep. I stared at the list for a long time. At first, I thought it was a joke. Some weird prank or superstition. The list wasn't new. It was wrinkled, stained at the edges like it had been used before. Maybe by another kid. Or maybe more than one. That night, I obeyed all the rules. I shut the door, didn't open the window, and went to bed by 9. But I couldn't sleep. Because at exactly 2:13 a.m., there were 2 slow, deliberate knocks on my door. And I remembered rule number 7. I lay frozen under the blanket, heart pounding so loud I thought whoever or whatever was outside the door could hear it. 2 knocks. Not 3. Not 1. Just 2. Exactly like the note said. They weren't loud, but they were deliberate. Like someone knew I was awake. Like they were waiting. I squeezed my eyes shut and didn't move. Pip was clutched so tight in my arms, I thought his seams would split. I didn't breathe. I didn't blink. I just pretended to be asleep like the rule told me to. After a few minutes, I heard footsteps. Soft ones like someone barefoot was walking slowly down the hallway. Then silence. The next thing I remember is waking up to sunlight spilling in through the blinds. I sat up, unsure if the knocking was a dream, until I saw the note again. There was a new line written at the bottom. Good job. Not everyone listens. My hands shook as I folded the paper and shoved it into my backpack. I didn't want to think about what happened to the ones who didn't listen. Downstairs, Mrs. Harrow was making oatmeal. No milk. No sugar. Just gray, sticky mush in a cracked bowl. Say thank you to the house, she reminded me as I sat at the table. I hesitated, then mumbled, thank you. She nodded. Good. After breakfast, she handed me a scrub brush and pointed to the floor. Scrub the entry tiles. Quietly. I didn't understand why. I was 10. I didn't even know how to scrub anything. But I did it. As I worked, I noticed something strange. One of the floor tiles near the base of the staircase was loose. It wobbled when I brushed over it. I glanced toward the kitchen. Mrs. Harrow wasn't looking. She was humming something tuneless and stirring a pot on the stove. So I gently pried the tile up. Underneath was a small gap. And inside that gap, I found something wrapped in cloth. I unwrapped it slowly, careful not to make a sound. It was a photo. A faded, creased picture of a girl, maybe a few years older than me. Standing right on that staircase, holding Pip the owl. My Pip. Written on the back, in the same handwriting as the rules, were 4 words. She didn't say thank you. I stared at the photo, hands trembling. The girl looked so normal. She wore jeans and a sweatshirt, her hair in a messy braid, and she smiled like she didn't know what was coming. But she was holding Pip, the same Pip I was clutching every night like a lifeline. Had she lived here before me? I stuffed the photo back into my backpack and pressed the tile back in place just as Mrs. Harrow's footsteps creaked into the hall. She stopped behind me. Did you find anything? She asked casually. My mouth went dry. No. She bent down slowly, her knees cracking as she reached to feel the tile I just covered. She ran her hand across it once, twice. Then smiled at me, but it wasn't the kind of smile that made you feel safe. It was the kind you saw in horror movies right before the lights go out. She said. Keep scrubbing. I nodded quickly and went back to work. That afternoon, she sent me to the garden in the backyard. Not to play, no. To pull weeds. The backyard was huge, overgrown, with a rusted swing set swallowed by tall grass. There was an old shed in the far corner with its door chained shut. Even in daylight, it looked like a place where bad things had happened. As I tugged at the weeds, I heard something. A voice. Faint. I turned toward the house. No one at the window. Hello? I whispered. Nothing. I went back to work. Then I heard it again, clearer this time. A voice, soft and high and familiar, whispering just beyond the hedge. Don't go near the shed. I froze. I looked around, no one. Just wind rustling the trees. And then I heard it again, 2 knocks. But this time, not from my door. From inside the shed. I dropped the gardening gloves and ran inside, heart racing. I didn't stop until I slammed my bedroom door and pushed the dresser in front of it. That night, I sat on the bed, hugging Pip, staring at the door. I couldn't sleep. At 2:13 a.m., the knocks came again. 2 of them. But this time, I wasn't alone in the room. There was breathing. Right behind me. Slow. Raspy. I didn't turn around. I didn't move. Then, a whisper, barely a breath. "She thought you could replace her." I didn't move. I didn't breathe. That whisper was right by my ear, and the room had gone cold, freezing. My skin prickled, every hair standing on end. I kept my eyes shut, lips pressed together, clinging to Pip like a raft in a storm. Eventually, the breathing stopped. The cold lifted. But I didn't sleep. Not 1 second. When morning finally dragged itself through the curtains, I waited until the light filled every corner of the room before I pushed the dresser away and cracked the door open. Nothing. Just the hallway. But when I went downstairs, Mrs. Harrow was waiting by the front door. She held something in her hands. The photo. The one I found under the tile. "You took something from the house," she said, voice calm but ice cold. "That's not allowed." I panicked. "I didn't mean to, I didn't know." She took a slow step forward. "This place keeps memories, child. It doesn't like being disturbed." "I'll put it back," I whispered. But she shook her head. "No need. It remembers you now." She turned and walked into the kitchen without another word. I was left standing there, heart racing, completely unsure what to do next. Later that day, I found a second note under my pillow. This one was shorter, but it hit even harder than the first. The girl in the photo's name was Elise. She didn't follow the rules. Now she makes sure the next child does. That night, I heard whispers outside my room again. Not words. Just murmurs. Breathing. Movement. I stayed still. Every time I blinked, I swore I saw shadows shift in the corners of the room. And then, the biggest shock of all, my bedroom window opened. By itself. Just a crack. Enough to let the wind in. Enough to break rule number 1. I scrambled out of bed, shut it, and locked it. I turned just in time to see something slide back under my door, another note, handwritten in the same shaky ink. After I read that note, I stood frozen in the middle of the room, unsure whether to cry, scream, or hide. My hands were shaking so badly I dropped Pip. For a moment, I just stared at him on the floor like I'd lost my last lifeline. I wanted to run. I wanted to go home. But I didn't even know where home was anymore. And I knew deep down that even if I did run, the house would find me. Or worse, she would. Elise. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat with my back against the door, facing the window, the closet, every corner. Watching. Waiting. At exactly 2:13 a.m., I felt it again. The temperature dropped. The room filled with a kind of pressure, like the air itself was thickening. My breath came out in tiny white puffs. No knocking this time. Just the door handle. It started turning. Slowly. Quietly. Even though I had shoved the dresser back in place, I heard the handle twist again and again, like someone on the other side knew I was there. Knew I was listening. Then it stopped. For a second, I thought maybe it was over. But then, I heard her voice. Right outside the door. Not a whisper this time. A little girl's voice. "You took my place." I felt something cold pass through the door, and suddenly the lights in my room exploded. Glass rained down in sharp, silent pieces. I screamed and ducked under the desk, heart hammering in my throat. Everything was dark. Everything was wrong. And then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw her. A pale shape in the far corner of the room. Hair hanging in wet, stringy strands. Eyes wide and empty. Clothes soaked and sagging as if she'd just stepped out of a river. It was Elise. She took a step toward me, bare feet soundless on the wood. I wanted to scream again, but my voice had vanished. I couldn't move. Couldn't speak. She opened her mouth, but instead of words, a horrible sound came out like wind and water and weeping all mixed together. She pointed one bony finger at Pip. Then at me. Then the window behind her flew open again and Elise vanished. The cold left. The darkness faded. And suddenly the sun was rising. I don't remember crawling into bed. I don't remember falling asleep. But when I woke up, there was a new photo taped to the mirror. It was of me, standing at the foot of the staircase, holding Pip, and written on the back in the same spidery handwriting. I stared at the photo for a long time. It wasn't just creepy, it was impossible. I'd never stood at the bottom of the stairs like that. I hadn't worn those clothes. I'd never posed for it. And yet, there I was, smiling, like Elise had in her photo. Like I was next. I packed my backpack. Pip, the original photo, both rule lists, anything I thought might help. I didn't know what I was going to do, just that I couldn't stay another night. But the house had other ideas. When I tried to go downstairs, the hallway was gone. I mean, it literally wasn't there. The stairs ended in darkness, endless, shifting darkness that looked like it would swallow me whole. When I looked back, the door to my room had vanished too. The walls pulsed like they were breathing. I wasn't in a house anymore. I was inside the house. The real one. And that's when I realized something. The rules weren't about keeping me safe from the house. They were the house's way of keeping me. A game. A test. And I'd failed. I ran down the hall, through doors that led to wrong places, the kitchen that now had no windows, a hallway that circled back on itself, a mirror that showed Elise standing right behind me when I was alone. I screamed. I begged the house to let me go. I said thank you over and over and over until my voice cracked. And then, like it was listening, a door appeared. The front door. Unlocked. I didn't hesitate. I bolted for it, Pip in one hand, my backpack in the other. I flung it open and ran into the light, not even looking back. I woke up the next morning in a hospital bed. Apparently, someone had found me on the side of a road 20 miles outside town. I'd been gone for 3 days. My parents? They didn't come. Never even showed up. I overheard the nurses whispering about how I'd been left with a distant relative who no one could track down now. There was no record of Mrs. Harrow. No house at the address I described. Just trees. An old foundation swallowed by earth. Social services sent me to a foster home after that. I didn't talk much. I didn't trust bedrooms. I didn't trust doors. But I never let go of Pip. Years later, I opened the backpack again. I had almost forgotten what I'd stuffed inside. Except the photo of me was gone. And in its place, a brand new one. Of a boy I didn't recognize. Standing on that staircase. Holding Pip. Smiling.